Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rogers Kakasungura YouTube channel, and a big thank you to each and every one of you for your continued support. If you're watching this video, kindly take your 1 or 2 seconds. It doesn't cost you anything. Click that subscribe button and remember to turn on your notification bell. You remember on 26th of September 2022, the Supreme Court released its full judgment on the 2022 presidential petition, ladies and gentlemen. And I recorded my video here and termed the full judgment as hot air from the recommendations it gave IEBC. And I was asking myself, Kakasungura, how come? You know, the court itself in their full judgment termed IEBC to have a dysfunctionality. Well, hey. Yes. And that was the same issue that was raised by the Azimio in their petition. But then the judges termed it as hot air. Now, the Azimio candidate, Raila Odinga, and his deputy, Martha Karua, have given a response to the judgment. And I'm going to read what they have raised here. Their key points, which I personally raised in my last video, and said, I want to be very categorical today and say the judges failed Kenyans. From this platform, I'm entitled anyway to give my own opinion. From this platform, I can confidently say that indeed the judgment was compromised in one way or another. You cannot raise valid key concerns to a dysfunctional IEBC, then you uphold an election that was carried out by the same IEBC you've termed as dysfunctional. That tells Kenyans that 99.99999% of the judgment was written elsewhere and read by the judges in court. Anyway, this is Raila Odinga's sentiments and Martha Karua. On September 26, 2022, the Supreme Court of Kenya released by email the full judgment in presidential election number 5 of 2022, Raila Odinga and Martha Koome and Martha Karua versus the IEBC. This is our immediate reaction, pending a full response by our lawyers in several days to come. The bottom line is that we find no material difference between the summary judgment that the court read on September 5th, 2022, in our view, and we feel entitled to use the language of the court. The full decision lacks merit and is plainly hot air. We accordingly reiterate our objections to the reasoning of the judges. It lacks integrity in both fact and law and is not grounded in any discernible logic. In particular, we make the following points. These are points from Raila Odinga and Martha Karua. Number 1, we note with incredulity the court's dissonance on the basis for their reasoning and findings on the IEBC. On the one hand, the court clearly establishes the illegal conduct by one Mr. Wafula Chebukati, the chairperson of the IEBC. On the other hand, however, the court overlooks this critical finding and excuses Mr. Chebukati despite the glaring violations of the Constitution and the law. In our view, was sufficient ground to nullify the election. The court then makes key recommendations for normative and structural reforms of the IEBC due to what it calls the Commission's dysfunctionality. It's unthinkable that such a mortally dysfunctional could have conducted a free and fair election. Before I proceed, ladies and gentlemen, you remember the lawyers from the petitioner side raised key concerns in court. They said IEBC was dysfunctional because of the differences we witnessed between the chairperson and the 4 commissioners led by Madam Cherera. Ladies and gentlemen, the lawyers further accused the respondent IEBC that due to the differences that Mr. Wafula Chebukati assigned himself the roles of the commissioners, and part of them are assigned to the CEO, somebody, so Majani or somebody, I don't know who. But then, you remember very well that the court termed that as hot air. But we are surprised as Kenyans that in their recommendations, they have termed IEBC as dysfunctional and has recommended key changes. One is stripping naked Mr. Wafula Chebukati some key responsibilities like tallying and verifying. These were the key points raised by the petitioners, but they were ignored. How now the court finds them so crucial to be implemented worries every Kenyan. But then, you know what happened. Second concern. We find that on all major planks of our petition's argument, the court failed to satisfy the basic requirement of a fair trial. This includes disregarding evidence of illegal and improper conduct by the Venezuelans and related technology failures and compromises, especially by Smartmatic, the shoddy treatment by the court of the constitutional threshold of 50% plus 1, and the lack of integrity of the result transmission. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude in the last paragraph of this press statement, I want to make the following observations. That you remember, the petitioners raised concern about the exposure of the public portal to Kenyans, which was risking hacking. Again, you remember, the petitioners questioned the presence of the Venezuelans in the servers in the name of maintenance, and they wanted to know if indeed, if they were present in the portal, how come they never interfered with the streaming of the results? Those were critical questions that the court termed as hot air. You remember, Jolly Soweto raising a critical concern about one KM kit operating, for example, in Kisii, and the same kit with the same IP address operating in Mombasa. How that was possible is only known by the Venezuelans and Mother Koome herself. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, whereas Kenyans stand out in large numbers to vindicate their their burgeoning democracy, the two key institutions charged with protecting the voice of the people, the IEBC and the Supreme Court, negated and subverted the will of Kenyans. It's regrettable that the court acted unethically and failed to follow its own precedent. The language directed at us sounded like that of an opponent and not of an impartial arbiter. In our judgment, the ruling lacks any jurisprudential value. We regard the election results as wholly illegitimate. We call upon Kenyans not to lose faith in the struggle for democracy, and we assure them that we will continue to pursue justice. Signed by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, 27th of September 2022, and SC Honorable Martha Karua. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude in my own remarks, I want to say this. I have severally discredited the judgment from the day it was given to yesterday when they released the full judgment. But I believe in all this, one day Kenya will find electoral justice. We will never tire. We will not be intimidated. We will be here to keep the government in check until God decides. Ladies and gentlemen, keep subscribing, keep watching, and keep sharing our content. May God bless you. Asanteni sana.